I did some videos about Hitchens's debate with Rabbi David Wolpe, but that one didn't get much into the differences between Christian belief and Jewish belief. But in this debate with Shmuley Boteach, there is some great discussion of the Jewish conception of the afterlife. The topic of the debate is whether there is an afterlife. In a way, it's odd that an atheist would be debating this with a rabbi, because of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism is the one that is most ambiguous about the idea of the afterlife.
Judaism is emphatic that the afterlife is right here on earth. The afterlife as a spiritual abode called heaven should be an afterthought. You don't serve God in order to get some big prize in the hereafter. That makes religion into nothing but a petty commercial enterprise. That makes religion into nothing but, God, if I do for you, then you better as heck do for me. And God is an end and not a means.
In the Old Testament, divine punishment was often issued on earth. Yahweh punished people before they died and went to hell. This seemed to be what characters in the Old Testament who feared Yahweh worried about the most. Judaism isn't off the hook for teaching a quid pro quo relationship with a god, because even in Judaism, Yahweh punishes and rewards. He makes deals with people, that's what the covenant is. It's just that the punishments and rewards are often issued to living people rather than dead ones.
The Talmud says that the patriarch Jacob did not die, because the Bible says he didn't die. It says Vayigva, he was elevated. So the Talmud says Yaakov Avinu lo mes, our patriarch Jacob never died. And then it says, what do you mean he didn't die? It says he was buried. It says that Pharaoh led a giant procession with Joseph, the viceroy of Egypt, with so many kings who put their crowns on his coffin. He died. And the Talmud says no. Mazaro b'chaim, afu b'chaim, because his children live in the example that he displayed. He has an afterlife through them. I see that with Christopher.
Continuing to live by being remembered isn't quite the same as continuing to exist as a ghost.
I'm telling you firmly that Judaism, which is the father, mother of all monotheistic faiths, has never put any kind of serious emphasis on the afterlife, period. Not because we don't believe it. I'll give you the Jewish idea of the afterlife. But because it's an afterthought. Anyone who serves God for the purposes of an afterlife is not religious. They are self-serving. They abrogate the central message of religion.
My understanding of Judaism was that it was a matter of debate whether Jews believe in an afterlife, but it's certainly clear that the Jews who talk about obeying or disobeying their God don't threaten people with eternal torment or try to bribe people with an eternal reward. There were Jewish communities which would execute somebody for working on the Sabbath, or if they were discovered to not be a virgin on their wedding night, but they wouldn't tell people they would be tortured forever. Nowadays, even in the strictest ultra-Orthodox communities, nobody is even executed for such things. So what does Judaism teach about the afterlife? I found an article in Haaretz which says, at different times and in different places, Jews had different ideas. These varying thoughts were never reconciled or canonically decided. Thus, even today, Jews believe in different, often irreconcilable theories of what life after death is like. The view of the afterlife held by ancient Jews, which can be surmised from passing references throughout the Bible, is that all people, Jews and Gentiles, go to a netherworld called Sheol, a deep and dark place in which shadowy spirits called Rephaim dwell. These could be summoned by the living to answer questions, though this practice is forbidden. Death was originally thought to be permanent, but that view changed. Jews later came to believe that the dead would be resurrected at the end of days. There were two major reasons this theory developed at the time. One is that after the Babylonian exile, Judaism became deeply concerned with interpreting sacred texts and deciphering their secrets. Thus, passages such as "The Lord killeth and maketh alive, he bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up," and Ezekiel's vision of the dry bones came to be taken as attestation that the dead would rise at the end of days. The second reason was the rise of a new kind of Jewish hero during the Maccabean revolt, the martyr. The idea of life after death increasingly gained traction in Judaism toward the beginning of the 1st century, just in time for Christianity to take the idea and run with it. When the temple was destroyed in 70 CE, Jewish theology that rejected the afterlife was lost. The Talmud, largely written after the invention of Christianity, describes the afterlife more explicitly. In Eruvin 19b, we are told that all but the most wicked are sent to Gehenna, a fiery place according to Berachot 57b, but their stay in the flames is temporary. After being purged of their sins, they are ushered to heaven by Abraham. Elsewhere, the torments of hell are said to be temporary for most sinners, but instead of ending in heaven, they end in non-existence. Some references to the world to come in the Talmud seem to refer to Gan Eden. Others clearly refer to a time after the dead come back to life, such as this section section in Barakot 17a. In the world to come, there is no eating or drinking, nor procreation or commerce, nor jealousy or enmity or rivalry. But the righteous sit with crowns on their head and enjoy the radiance of the divine presence. This is closer to the Christian conception, but more nuanced than the strictly dichotomous arrangement in which everyone who accepts Jesus goes to heaven and everyone else goes to hell.
I also have a Patreon if you're into that kind of thing.